Welcome to a series of videos revolving around my travels throughout the vast country of Japan. In my 2 months here, I want to share some of the local finds that made my trip so memorable, the transportation I used to travel seamlessly, and just the overall experience of being immersed in the land of the rising sun. My travels began after landing in Osaka, the economic and cultural hub of the Kansai region. This was my first impression of city life in Japan, and I was blown away by how clean, modern, and deeply rooted to street food this city is. Many of the districts here just draw you in through impressive displays of traditional Japanese izakayas and full-blown nostalgia. I genuinely felt like a kid just wandering through all the little alleyways and admiring every little alluring detail in storefronts and arcades. I recommend purchasing this Kansai area through pass in advance, which I picked up at the Osaka JR station. This pass allows for unlimited rides on virtually all public transport, excluding rail lines and taxis, for 3 non-consecutive days when touring the 4 main cities. For instance, with this pass, I was able to visit the Osaka Castle, which was built in the 16th century and is a staple of the city. It's beautiful, resilient, and quite frankly, a reflection of Japanese defensive architecture all throughout. The Dotonbori district, which is split along a canal, is probably the most vibrant part of Osaka. Lined with restaurants, shops, and extravagant signs, it really comes alive in the evening hours as everything turns into a visual spectacle. There's just an overwhelming amount of street food and hilarious storefront mascots that make you crave all types of Japanese food. I really like seeing all the different styles of restaurants and izakayas that clearly have their own persona. Some might call this place a tourist trap, but I liked the laid-back vibes and friendly nature of the locals. For a quieter setting, I visited Sumiyoshi Taisha. It's one of Japan's oldest Shinto shrines, and here you'll find a unique blend of natural beauty and traditional architecture. It's a place to seek blessings and prosperity, and I was also fortunate to see a time-honored traditional wedding taking place. Definitely a location I recommend in Osaka, and one that opened my eyes to Shintoism. I decided I would do a quick day trip west of Osaka to the small but iconic coastal city of Kobe. The name alone, Kobe, is particularly synonymous with Japan's premium beef, known for unparalleled quality that only comes from this prefecture. I went around the city in search of this particular cut of meat, bypassing most of the street vendors that try and sway you into buying a false kind of beef. There are certain parameters that come with properly buying Kobe beef, specifically the quality and marbling score of the meat. I eventually found a small space that served A4 Kobe beef and ordered around 150 grams worth. The taste and texture was second to none, and even though the price may seem high, it's cheaper than if you buy elsewhere in Japan, and the experience alone is worth it. In the end, I was happy to have tried Kobe Wagyu beef at the source and totally recommend it as an experience worth doing when in Japan. From Osaka, it was time to head east. And after my first official bowl of shoyu ramen, I reached the town of Nara, Japan's first permanent capital. The obvious residents here are the deer. They roam freely throughout Nara Park and are regarded as a symbol of grace and serenity in Japanese culture. They're believed to be messengers of gods in Shinto belief, so naturally, these deer are highly cherished and protected. You can buy these crackers called shika senbei for around 200 yen, and usually a crowd of deer will gather around you, and some might nudge you over and over and eventually bow. You feel the connection just walking through the park, and there's definitely something spiritual with these unique animals in relation to humans. A quick summit on a nearby mountain leads to some amazing views of the region and, well, you guessed it, more deer. Some of my best memories here evolved from discovering Nara through a slower pace and enjoying Japan's quieter life outside the busy city. A place I'll never forget and a unique place to discover in Kansai. Kyoto rounds out traveling throughout the Kansai region, the bread and butter of Japanese heritage. This city pulls you in and captivates every sense of what I envisioned Japan to be like. Traditional and modern, it's truly a one-of-a-kind city. My simple guest house was located in the center north part of the city, very comfortable by dorm standards, and was in close proximity to most bus lines that can reach most parts of Kyoto. Getting around is pretty straightforward and efficient, but for some reason, you need exact change for the fare. I didn't have a Suica card at the time, so I mostly relied on my trusty yen coins. The buses could also get packed during peak season, so best to plan ahead. Kyoto has been going through a tourism super boom this past year. It wasn't as packed as the summer months prior, but I could definitely feel the effects of over-tourism at the heritage sites, as well as the people that live in Kyoto. It's hard to resist the allure of Kyoto, and I also notice more commercial brands moving in. Purely speaking, there's so much to admire and take in visually that you can forget about the crowds and immerse yourself. My advice is to also see some less frequented areas around the foothills of Kyoto. You can really feel the cultural richness and tranquility in some of these places, and I think it's best to slow down, put down the phone for a minute, and enjoy Kyoto for its true self. There is definitely a magic that lives and breathes here. It's totally worth getting up as early as you can. Take a journey through Arashiyama, get lost, find a tea house, get lost again, and let your mind wander. One of my favorite locations in Kyoto was the Fushimi Inari Shrine, made famous for its thousands of torii gates winding through the forested hillsides. Kind of a spiritual journey walking through these corridors, and as I made my way up, the crowds began to thin out. As you ascend the path, surrounded by forest and stone fox statues, which guard the way, you almost begin to feel a peaceful clearing of the mind and a feeling of spiritual fulfillment. At the summit, roughly 12,000 steps later, is where I felt most at peace. The pure feeling of accomplishment and unique mysticism is what made this so unforgettable for me. I recommend coming in the later hours to really experience the magic here. Overall, Kyoto, as popular as it has become, has that it factor. Take your time discovering and respecting all it has to offer. So this sums up my journey through the Kansai region of Japan. Truly a feast for the eyes, the heart, the mind, and the soul. I then made my way to Kyoto Station. For my next video, I travel northeast to spectacular Kanazawa and Takayama. I also break down and explain how to use the JR Pass, navigate the rail system, reserve seats, and make your visit a truly special one. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to follow the journey. See you next time.